truth be told, I view Catholicism as idolatry. Okay, that doesn't mean that you can't be a decent person from a social perspective and be an idolater. I view traditional Christianity also as idolatry. I make an exception for Messianic Jews. What makes these things idolaters is not necessarily that you're worshiping an idol. It's idolatry from a Jewish perspective, meaning avodah zarah means that you're serving God in a way he didn't prescribe. If you believe that the Torah is no longer applicable or has been modified in any way, that makes you an idolater from an Orthodox rabbinic perspective. And that's what I'm talking about. Not necessarily that you're worshiping like a statue. And
so Islam falls into that category too then?
Yes. I don't know why the vast majority of Jews want to differ with me.
Right, they have a different law than the Torah. It's a different God.
But not just that, but they say that we changed the Torah. I mean, how much more of a different religion could you have? So I mean, it could have the same names. You're like, what do you mean? Allah comes from Aloha, and we have Moses and Prophet David, right? Yeah, no, you have an Arab Moses and you have a Palestinian David. It's not the same guy. Like, you can have the same characters. It's kind of like this movie. Remember the movie Boondock Saints? Right, good movie.
Yes.
Part 2 sucked. They destroyed the whole franchise. You're like John Wick 2, 3, 4. John Wick 1 was good. John Wick 2 had the same characters, but it's not the same. It's clearly written by, I don't know who it's written by, but it sucks. There's a trend shift between the Torah and the Quran. It's not the same. It starts instituting concepts which were developed ideas by the rabbis in the Talmud, and now it's instituting them as so matter-of-factly theological. You know, it's like, whoa. Even the notion of Gog and Magog, right? Like, it's one opinion in the Talmud. It doesn't even say it like in the book of Ezekiel. It says like Gog from the land of Gog or something, but not actual two nations. But both the New Testament and the Quran, they run with it like it's a thing. Resurrection of the dead. It's not clear in the Torah, but now it's a thing. You know, that means, I'm not saying it's bad to believe in these things, but now suddenly what began as a theological discussion, a philosophical discussion, in rabbinic literature now makes it into divinely inspired texts in the Quran. Divinely inspired, right? I mean, the same God, who said don't eat pork is now the same God that tells you to await the Mahdi. It's the same God. What they didn't understand is that in Judaism we have this notion of optional belief. There are things that are optional to believe. Essentially, if it doesn't appear in the Torah regarding belief, right? I'm not saying halakha. I believe Jewish law comes from the Sanhedrin. But regarding beliefs, any theological belief that doesn't appear in the 5 books of Moses is optional to believe. Theological belief. I'm not saying keeping Shabbos. I'm not saying reading the Megillah on Purim or lighting Hanukkah candles, right? Because these are rabbinic. Those you have to do because God tells us to listen to the ruling body of the Sanhedrin and they told us to do it. Fine. However, in terms of believing, you're believing God is this, believing God is that, believing that there's going to be a resurrection of the dead. That's a metaphysical concept. The reason it's optional to believe is because regarding what we have to do, that occurred by people voting. It says it. In Hilchos Sanhedrin of the Rambam, he says the way the Sanhedrin would rule things into existence, they would all take a vote. And the majority rules, right? This is the notion of rov that's misunderstood by people today, that the majority rules. Meaning the majority in the court that voted, yay or override those who voted nay. However, you can't vote metaphysical things into existence. I mean, how would that even look? We're going to vote that God has feet, right? Or, God has anything. Or that God operates like this. I vote this, I vote that. Now suddenly that becomes the truth. It doesn't work like that. Meaning, regarding what you do, even the Talmud, even the Torah itself says that the sages, in the Torah talks about the priests, like in the Talmud, it talks about the members of the Sanhedrin that used to be mainly priests till they became corrupted. It says that they make errors. There's a whole section in the Talmud, it's called Masechet Torayot, that deals with the errors of the Sanhedrin. How can you make an error on something metaphysical, right? Oh, God is this, but we're wrong. It's going to change the way you relate to God. That means for it to be obligatory, right, to believe, it has to appear in the Torah. Because that's the only revelation that man receives from God, right? National revelation. Regarding what you do, that's halakha. I mean, it could be a mistake. You still have to do it unless it's telling you to do something unethical. The Torah itself says, don't follow the majority to do evil. What it's telling you is that you should follow them to do good. Meaning that if the Sanhedrin, which is what it's talking about, the majority, like the elders, consensus, if it's telling you to violate the Torah, you're commanded not to do it. And God will hold it against you if you do. Like, you can't hide behind rabbis, because many people justify, like in the Jewish world, mistreating, let's say, converts, right? There's this thing that Syrians don't accept converts. And if you ask the average Syrian, what the heck are you doing? You know converts exist in the Torah. They're like, oh no, it's my custom, it's okay. Wait. Only because it's your custom, you think it's okay? Like, God's going to give you a pass because it's your custom? I mean, what if it's your custom to wear, bell bottoms and, butterfly collars, right? I mean, regardless of now, you're not going to have a girlfriend at the end of the night, okay? You're going to pay for your consequences on earth and in heaven, and you're not going to be able to hide behind other people's stupid decisions. That means if you see people misrepresenting the Torah, you can't just go along with it and say it's my custom. And I'm pretty sure it goes like that for the Catholic Church. If you felt the Pope actually did something that was contrary to, like your Bible, the Gospels, and the Torah, right, you would have to say, hey, that's unbecoming of your position, Vicar of Christ, or whatever they call him, right? I'm not going to follow it because I answer, like Hebrew National, right, to a higher authority.
So how do we distinguish on what powers were given to the Sanhedrin by God when he said, what they do, what they say is what I say?
Well, it gives you an example of the type of advice they're going to give you. It says in all areas of dispute and